So what do you call yourself? Welcome to the LaTangela Show. Hey.
Hey, what can I do for you this fine day?
This is your destiny. Hot, hot, hot.
Right now.
Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Kick it.
Come on in and enjoy yourself.
Right now.
We gon' party like no one else. Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, sunshine. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Even better when I have the walking genius that's going to help me get my money right. Because when I get my money right, I get my mind right, and everything seems a lot easier. You know what I'm saying?
I'm your gal. I'm your gal. I'm here for you.
You're no stranger to the world of numbers and making it so simple in a world that seems so complex. How did you fall in love with numbers and even the process of saying, hey, I got a better way to do this?
I was lucky because I grew up in Queens, New York. My parents were teachers. My dad was then a principal. So we didn't have a lot of money, but my father was super careful about money. He was really prudent about, I remember being young and hearing my parents talk about the pension plan and how they want to put the maximum into the like 401k like plan. So but
Right.
they know that they'll have money there for the future and saving for our college. And they were pretty good about sort of scrimping and saving and being careful, but also investing. So they didn't come from any sort of money. My dad was really poor, but he decided that he wanted to have a stable life and a stable life for his future, for his family in the future. So he got smart about investing and saving. And I think through osmosis, I picked that up. Don't get into credit card debt. Don't carry a balance from month to month. Don't spend more than you actually have. Those kind of values, I think, and lessons were sort of drummed home. And the idea that you can save even with very, very small amounts, everyone could start to do this. And I'm not being like all Pollyannish about it. It's really true that even with small habits and changes, you can really make a difference for your financial future.
And that's true. Even small changes, such as having these types of conversations around the house, at the dinner
Yes.
table. If you started learning about osmosis, just hearing your parents talk about it, imagine for the household that's not even having that conversation.
100%. There's so much research now. Was doing work on careers. If you have a relative, it has to be like a relative, a parent, talk to you, have one conversation with you about what career you want to do one day, you're much more likely to be employed in 10, 20 years. I mean, it's amazing how these conversations we have shape who we are and how we think about things. And I got to be honest with you, Tan. I was an English major, so I was not like a number crunching person when I was younger, but I learned this because it made a lot of sense. I saw
Yeah.
my parents do it. And then the more I wrote about it, I was lucky. I wrote for this woman who was the first person to write about personal finance. Her name was Sylvia Porter. She had a syndicated column. And then I got a job at Money Magazine. And I just dove into it and learned this isn't all that complicated. I think
Yeah.
banks and all kinds of financial institutions, they have an incentive to make it so hard for us to understand. But if you do the basics, you get out of debt, you start saving, you begin investing in a reasonable way, you really can get your financial life in order.
And that's true. They do make it really complex. And sometimes you get so deep in, you feel as if there's no
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel. So you don't know who to
Yes.
ask. And if you start young, because fresh out of high school, they're giving out these credit cards, you're spending fast, you're living big. And now with social media, everybody wants to do it for the gram. Because if it didn't make it to the gram, let me tell you, Beth, it never
Yeah.
happened. So a
Right.
hashtag and a
Exactly.
retweet does not say be smart with your money. It says go hard with the gift card. So
Yeah.
with this
Yeah.
book,
You're
this is the
exactly
fifth
right.
edition. So you've got a
It is.
lot of information in here, and we have to put a handle on it. Because not only is it the fifth edition, but it's the fifth edition of the New York Times bestseller. So tell us all about it.
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing for young people to realize is even though times are tough, the job market is incredibly hard. Even if you graduated from college, we're at a difficult time historically. But one thing you can do, and a lot of people don't like this, is if you graduate from college, graduate from high school, live at home with your parents for as long as possible. It's not possible for everyone, but it is possible for a lot of people. And try to save during that period of time. There are ways, I mean, even back in the day, I lived at home for a year and a half, and I paid off most of my student loans that way and had enough to get a security deposit for, starting to rent an apartment. So I think living at home, scaling things back, and not spending more than you have. There's so many things right now, like buy now, pay later deals. This is like the latest thing. You go into a store, you buy something online, and they're like, hey, it costs $100, only pay $20. And don't worry, we're not even charging you interest. How terrific that sounds. But the problem is that those people who use buy now, pay later deals feel like they're flush with cash. Oh, I only paid $20 for this $100 skirt, not realizing I have to pay $20 every single month. So they buy more, and people get deeper and deeper. And if you're late on a payment, then they will charge you interest and you will pay penalties. So being aware and not spending more than you could afford, it sounds so basic, but it's hard to do these days. Like you said, with social media, people in your face all the time telling you all these great things you need to buy in order to be a happy person.
Yeah. So if there were different plans and ways of saving, not putting it under our mattress, not sticking it in a cookie jar, what would be a basic step for anyone at any point in their lives to start saving?
Right. Well, I'd say first start with a high yield savings bank account. Their banks, and by the way, I don't get any kickbacks or payments for anything I mention, which is something to always keep in mind when people are listening to financial advice. But they're high yield savings accounts. You could just Google it online and find banks that pay close to 3%, 3.5%, which isn't amazing, but it's better than the 0.01%. You're getting 1/10 of 1 percentage point. So start with that. That's a very easy thing to do. You could do it with an online bank. So have a savings cushion there. And the goal is to save 3 months worth of savings, 6 months worth, whatever you can. Just have it automatically taken from your paycheck automatically and put into that savings account, at least 10%. And that's the one good thing about financial technology, is that's very easy to do now. You call your bank, you ask them to make sure to funnel 10%, everything that goes into your check account, take 10% out and put it into a savings account. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you work for a company that has a 401k or 403b plan, contribute to it. Even if it's just $50, $100. I wrote this book 30 years ago, the first version of this book. I was a much
Wow.
younger woman then.
Wow.
And I walk around and meet people. I sold over 500,000 copies, and I meet people who say, you know what, I've read your book, and they're like 60 years old now, or even 70 years old. So I feel 100 years old, but they tell me, I read your book and I didn't think I could save, but I did. I put a little bit in, and you know what? It's like $400,000 now. So time is on your side when you're young, and even putting small amounts in could really make a difference. The cliche of, instead of buying coffee every day, buy it twice a week. Have a splurge, 2 splurge days, and take that money and put it into your Roth IRA if you don't have a 401k at work. And that
Mhm.
money will grow so quickly because you're young. And when money grows for long periods of time in tax favored accounts, it grows exponentially fast. So I would say those are the two things. The one other one is an index fund. Go with Vanguard or Schwab or Fidelity. Those are companies that have low amounts that you can start investing in those plans. And it's diversified. It might go up, it might go down, but over the long period of time, they've done incredibly well.
Exactly. And so have you. To say that you've written the first book 3 decades ago and it still stands strong, and knowing that we have the fifth edition, the world changes. But if you stick to the fundamentals, as you mentioned, we're going to get somewhere. And these kids are little
Yeah.
sponges. So even if you start teaching them this right now, you're really setting them up for success. So we have to give them a plan. I know you have a lot going on, but if you had to pick a highlight of etching these books and seeing that the new edition is needed now because times have changed and you need to get excited to find a new way. What does that look like for Beth?
I think that, we're hearing so much about affordability, and it's such a real issue for so many young people. how can I ever afford a home? The statistic that's looming is the first time home buyer today is 40 years old. To me, that sounds young, but it's 40 years old. Back in the day, 30 years ago, the first time home buyer was 28 years old. So things have really changed, goals have shifted. But the truth is, if you start with some habits, save 10%, 20% of every paycheck automatically, and you don't get into credit card debt, those are tried and true rules, but there are new ways to approach them with technology, with automatic savings plans. You can really make a difference for your future and know that one day, if you want to buy a home, you can buy a home. You put it in that high yield savings account, you put it in the index funds, and over time, you will be able to meet some of the goals that you set out for yourself. I think that, young people, the one big difference is student loans. A lot of young people feel burdened by student loans, and the news is there's some new ways to pay back your student loans. It's simplified, which is better. They're less generous, which isn't as good. But go to studentaid.gov, look at the loan simulator, and figure out which is the best way for you to pay back your student loans. If you're working for a not-for-profit company, or you're a teacher or a nurse, you might be eligible for the loan forgiveness program, which is
Right.
really great because after 10 years, your loans are forgiven. So check those out. Go to studentaid.gov to see what your options are if you have student loans.
You are indeed a breath of fresh air and a ray of light. I want you to think of this as an extension of your office. So whenever you have anything going on, tell them, look, I need to jump in the hot seat on the tan line. Thank you for my book.
Oh,
Help me give my
thank
money,
you.
right? And get
Thank
to
you. Your
Louisiana
questions were
soon.
brilliant. You really nailed it. You really got it
You.
all. So thank you so much.
I appreciate that. I know you have more work to do, so I'm gonna let you chase the
Yeah.
sun or let the sun chase you. But either way, get after it. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Thank you.
See you soon.